Hello, welcome to Harry's Horror Books, and today I'm going to be showcasing some books from my mom's collection. Earlier today, on the Retro Horror paperback art page on Facebook, somebody asked a question: why do you collect? Do you collect to read? Do you collect for investment? Is it a combination of both? And I replied, and I thought about it, and my reason for collecting, I am a reader, but like all of us, we're never going to read all the books we have. That's a given. Um, but my books are a physical memory in my mother's honor. When I inherited her books when she passed away a couple years ago, it was nice having these books in my possession because many of them, if not all of them, I've read back in the day because my love of reading horror came from my mother. And I wasn't expecting to get her books when she passed. I wasn't expecting how many there were because we had a house fire. And I did not realize how many books my mom rescued, but she rescued a bunch. And what I'm going to do today is show off books that were physically hers that are now in my possession. And again, you can see behind me, I like to showcase my books. I have my mom over my shoulder up here. You know, her ashes are up here, her funeral card, her, she is here with me. Sometimes when I am sitting down in my nook of our art studio in our house where my books are, I can feel her presence. Sometimes I actually can feel her hand on my shoulder telling me she loves me, honey, which is, warms my heart. And it's just nice to know that, she's here with me. Her books are a physical memory of her. And I am the oldest of all our siblings. Have, I believe, now 13 nieces and nephews. I have two daughters of my own, and all these books are their books as well. I'm hoping over the years that people will want to come and take a physical reminder of what their grandmother loved, which is reading. I also think reading is one of the best things anybody can do. It's something you can pass on to your children, your children's children, and again, the printed page is magical. So, no particular order. I'm just showcasing some books that are physically mom's. And many of these authors we will all know. And a segue a little bit here. When I first got Paperbacks from Hell in late 2017, when I was looking through it, I was like, holy crap. Mom had this, mom has this, mom has this. I was like, man, my mother could have wrote this book and showcased off all her book covers because she had almost every book in Paperbacks from Hell, which is, makes sense because she collected horror. She read horror. And, she was born in 49, so, she's a lot older than us here, and she had extra decades of buying books and reading books and accumulating books. So, without further ado, first book from her collection is Ramsey Campbell's Ancient Images. She had a bunch of Ramsey Campbell, which is why I have a bunch of Ramsey Campbell. Read a lot of these, love him. This is one of those step back art books that we all love. Little keyhole cover here. Again, we all love Ramsey Campbell, and my mom did as well. She also liked later horror fiction. This is Charlie Jacobs' This Symbiotic Fascination, which I read this when it came out as well. There's a good possibility this was a book I bought and sent back to my mom because I would buy books starting in the mid-90s and told her not to buy them because I will send them to her so she could read them. But this author is an amazing author. Nothing too cool about this cover, but the contents are phenomenal. This is A Zebra Horror, Daddy's Little Girl by Daniel Ransom. We all love these zebra horrors. So did my mom. And, it doesn't have one of those cool keyhole covers, but still good book. Night of the Claw by Jay Ramsey. This is an alias. I forget who it's an alias for. I want to guess Ramsey Campbell, but I may be wrong on that. If anybody knows, please leave a note in the comments. But again, another book from my mom's collection. Here we got two by Joe R. Lansdale by Bizarre Hands. This is in a baggie because you can see it has water damage. This is a book my mom rescued, and now I have it. So some of her books that have damage, I bagged up so damage doesn't spread to other books. But this is an amazing cover. A book I probably read when it was new. And I love Lansdale. Another book from my mom's collection. A zebra fruit cover. Act of Love by Joe R. Lansdale. I believe his first novel. But, you know, got that beautiful zebra horror logo on it. And everyone loves these zebra fruit covers. Next we have two by D.N.R. Koontz, Demon Seed, movie adaptation. And my mom loved Koontz, and I did too. And all of us have read Koontz and King, Anne Rice, V.C. Andrews, John Saul, Robin Cook. These books were all over the place, late 70s, early 80s. And that's where I got my taste of reading horror from. Another one we have here is an ace double by him, Dark of the Woods, and Soft Comes the Dragon. A great story about this book is, you see that $4 price sticker? When I got my mom's books, I instantly recognized the writing on this sticker because my mom must have bought this from Fantasy World comic book store in Buffalo, New York before 1985, because that's when I started working there. And if this book was there when I was working there, I would have bought it. So my mom was shopping in a comic book store and a collectible store. It was a two-part store, comic books on one side, collectible books and toys and games and lunchboxes on the other side. So Norm, I'm going to send you a link to this. You know, this is a book that my mom bought from you 40 plus years ago. So I'm very honored and blessed to have this one in my collection because my mom read it and it came from your store, Norm. Next we have Stephen King, my mom's cover of Salem's Lot. Let's see if this is a first print. No, not a first print, but you know, it does have a little staining on it, a little water damage, so it probably went through the fire as well. One of Stephen King's best in my opinion. Also my mom's copy of the Bachman books. I remember when this came out. I remember having conversations with my mom about why does he need to use an alias and all that kind of stuff. I don't remember what came of that. I'm hoping that my mom wasn't upset enough to throw away any Richard Bachman books she did have previously. I did not find those in her collection, so don't know if she had them or not. But again, I did read all four of those stories when this book came out, 1986, I believe. I'm not sure. It's got to be 86, 87. 1986. This is a first print. Another cool book I got from my mom's collection was Malsum. John O'Hare. Gerald John O'Hare. My mom loved Native American anything. She was an archaeologist, anthropologist. She read Native American folklore, Native American herbology. And that's just a beautiful book. She has the Graham Masterson Manitou books, which is Native American. Dan O'Brien, Spirit Warrior, I know she had, which is a Native American book. Other ones as well. I didn't feel like digging out every single Native American book my mom had, but when I saw this, when I was going through her collection, I never saw this book before, never heard of the author. It's a beautiful cover. And I said, again, I'm honored to have every book from my mom's collection. And of course, everybody's favorite, William Johnston. This is Bats. I like this cover of Bats. There's numerous reprints of all these Johnston books. You got your beautiful zebra horror logo on it, which is something I've trained my two daughters to look for when we're out book hunting. Anything zebra they show me, but I said specifically horror and suspense. And Cat's Eye. Yep, another zebra horror. You know, a lot of these were reprinted, I believe, by Pinnacle. But, you know, my mom also loved cats, which we did, so she had a lot of cat horror books as well. There are a lot of them out there, surprisingly. And she seemed to have almost all of them. So I just happen to like that cover. You know, that's a cool cover. Next we have Dream Thorpe by Chet Williamson. Another cool cover. We all know him. You know, again, I'm not pulling out every book by any author that my mom had, but I'm just showcasing some of them. These are all known authors to all of us. We all read them, we all collect them, and again, I just want people to know where my interests from horror came from and my love of books came from my mom. Greg Almquist, Wolfkill. A lot of wolf and dog books out there as well. You know, this one, nice cover, pretty clean copy considering my mom read them, I read them, my mom would share books. I'm surprised some of her books are in as good condition as they are because they were read easily by 3-4 people. You know, we shared books back in the day. I'd like to get, it would be cool to find a trading group so we could just share books that we don't own so we could read them and return them. Death Spore by Harry Adam Knight. It's a horror book, has a sci-fi cover, but you know, everyone loves this author as well, and that's just a cool cover. I don't think it opens. Nope, it doesn't have a gatefold. T.E. Decline, The Ceremonies. Hard to see that cover, you know, because it's glossy and it glows, but again, I read this when it was new. I believe my friend Steven from the Little Library of Horrors did a review of this within the past 3-4 months. Somebody else I know read it and liked it. And I'm just curious what year it came out. 1984. This one came out in 85. It does have a little, you know, gatefold cover. And the cool thing is, on some of my mom's books, she wrote her name in them. So that means a lot to me to actually have books with her writing in them. I have many Brian Lumleys from my mom's collection. Of course, this is the first, the Necroscope. I love these books. Recently, somebody on that retro horror page mentioned he's never read them. He had 3 in a shopping cart. And me and other people said buy them and read them. They are great. They don't get tedious. They're all big books. They're thick. They're wordy. But they're not heavy. You know, you can read through them pretty quick. It's not bogged down with a whole bunch of minutia from my memory. I read probably the first 14 or 15 of the Necroscope series as they came out. You know, I've been buying them up until probably the mid-2000s, maybe late 2000s. I know there's a few that have come out since I stopped really buying new books. One day I'll get them, but again, Necroscope, great series, great author. Lumley is also steeped in H.P. Lovecraftian style books where he got his start at in the 70s, so anything you can get by him, pick up. Stephen Gresham, Bloodwings. Another zebra horror book. No gatefold cover, but again, mom liked zebra. Michael Slade, Ghoul. Every Michael Slade book is great. They're not horror in the traditional sense. It's police procedure, police hunting killers, serial killers, that type of thing. I happen to love that. I consider all that horror. Michael Slade is an alias, I believe, for 2 authors, Canadian authors. Forget their backstory, but again, I have every paperback his or theirs. Most of them are my mom's. There are 2 books that came out later that are so hard to find in paperback. I have one in a trade paperback form. I believe it's Crucified. Thank you, Alan, from the Book Suppository for that. And I think the other one's called Red Snow. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but if anyone has those in paperback, I'm looking. And Alan is looking from the Book Suppository, so if you find those, let us know. The Scream by John Skip and Craig Spector. Mom's copy. This could have been my copy because it's missing the pull-out poster. And I probably sent it to my mom or I took the poster. You know, it has my mom's name in it. You can see where the poster was. I do have another copy with the poster intact. These 2 guys can write their asses off. Probably the godfathers of the splatterpunk movement. All their books are great. The Light at the End. is a book I do want to go back and reread. I read that before I moved to New York City. I have been getting into reading books set in New York City since I've been living out in this area. It gives the books a different feel. Earlier this year, I read Night Train by Thomas Monteleone, and it just gave it a different viewpoint for me, knowing the landscape, knowing the architecture, knowing everything about the city. As when I read that when it came out, New York City was as foreign as Mars to me. So that was it's good to revisit these books since I know the geography. Descendants by Jean Simon. Another cool cover. Not a zebra. He or her, I don't know if this is a male or female, has a bunch of zebra books. But, you know, this is the one I pulled that came from my mom's collection. Anne River Sidon, The House Next Door. Another classic. No specific art in there. Joan Samson, The Auctioneer. This is my mom's copy, which I recently read, which is really damn good. You can see why some of these books are classics. You can see why this was picked to be reprinted by Valancourt Press. Another book worth hunting down, be it original or be it the reissue. John Coyne, The Piercing. Another author anyone my age has probably read. You know, I'm 57. A lot of these books that came out in the 70s and 80s, I had access to from my mom, and so loved them. I remember reading all his books. I remember liking them all. Cool cover on this one. Has an almost like a S&M-ish vibe. I could see this perhaps being reissued by Playboy Press at some point with a different cover. Another zebra horror, Joseph Citro's Shadow Child. In a bag because it has water damage from a house fire. But, you know, creepy clowns. Andrew Niederman, Perfect Little Angels. You know, we all have a bunch of Andrew Niederman books. He still is putting out books. I don't know, is he still writing the V.C. Andrews books, but he's probably written 30, 40 of those since she's passed away. But, you know, that's a cool cover as well. And again, my mom liked cool covers like this, which is what how they made you buy these books. Mom also liked Gothics. Here we got The Lattimore Arch by Angela Gray. I love all these Gothic covers. They're creepy, they're cool, they're subtle, and the colors are really great on them. So, you know, I was happy to see that Mom had a bunch of Gothics. Shock Totem by Tom Metzger. I probably must have read this because, you know, it was in my mom's collection. I recently read Big Girl by him, and it blew my mind. It is hard to describe. I did a review of it, and I just don't know what to say, except it's like reading it is like you feel like you're having a stroke. It's that different. It's not bad, but, you know, you will never read another book like Big Girl. I want to revisit this and give this a read. It is about electricity. Robert McCallum. I just pulled a random copy of one of my mom's books. I've read every McCallum up until Boy's Life, I believe. But, you know, I love all his stuff. They Thirst is one of my favorite books ever. And as I said, Mom loved them too. Mom had multiple copies of some of the books because different covers made the books seem different. And speaking of Native American horror, Revenge of the Manitou by Graham Masterton. Mom had a lot of Masterton books. That's a cool cover as well. Nothing, no extra artwork in there. And also just a copy of Walkers by Masterton. My mom's copy of one of my favorite books as well. All Heads Turn as the Hunt Goes By, with the Jim Morrison-ish character on the front cover. You know, again, you could definitely see this had some damage. But yeah, I read this probably when it came out. 1977. This copy is from 79. So this was my mom's copy, and this is my mom's copy. So I was 11 years old in 1979. So I must have read this as 11 or 12-year-old. John Saul, Punish the Sinners. I happen to like that cover. Some of his early books, the early editions, have great covers. And again, another author. I read almost every book he put out up until I moved away in 1989. So again, I'm happy to have my mom's collection of John Saul books, and said this is a great cover, which I have in my display. J.N. Williamson, we all love him. I showcased some of his books on my Spinner Rack video, but this is my mom's copy of Hellstorm and my mom's copy of Horror House. No gatefold on that, but I think I have seen a cover where it opens up and you can see it. Last but not least, we have a copy of Jump Rope by Ruby Jean Jensen. My mom had a bunch of her books as well. Not going to show them all because I want to do a video showcasing all the Ruby Jean Jensens I have. And Best Friends by Ruby Jean Jensen as well. Another creepy cat cover. You can see why my mom had that one. And that is it for today. I just wanted to showcase some of my mom's books. And again, these are memories for me. Tangible memories. Some of these books I remember reading. Some I don't, but again, I've read 15,000 books in my life, maybe more, so I'm not going to remember everything, but as a kid, I wasn't buying books. I was reading whatever mom had, and if mom had them, I read them. So, again, this is just prompted from that Facebook post earlier, and again, I collect because these are physical memories of my mother, and it's touching and sad at the same time for me thinking about this, but again, that was my connection with my mom more than anything else. Was we loved reading, we loved horror, and it's nice that I can hold these books and just feel her energy, feel her presence, and just feel enveloped with what she and I shared. And thank you. Please give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with your friends and help me get more subscribers just so more people can have access to my content. And thank you very much for your time and have a great weekend.